Hello and welcome back to the Last Walks blog. Yeah, we've all seen the big news that came out a few hours ago about Adrian Pennock keeping his job for next season. So what I'm here to do today is bring you the first in what will be a new series for us, which we're given the name of View from the Stands. Simply what it is I'm going to basically I put out a question on the Last Walks blog Twitter account a few hours ago, just to get some of our followers' thoughts on the appointment. I'm just going to run through some of those with you and discuss it and use it as platforms for me to build points off. And it's also something that we are going to continue into the new season when it eventually comes around, in terms of post-match reactions, getting your thoughts on social media and then turning them into talking points in our videos. So I'm going to crack straight on, and the first tweet I've got is from Stephen George, who says, completely wrong, Taylor will be in charge by Christmas and will go down with probably a record low points total. Yeah, a lot of people have suggested that Pennock will probably be gone by Christmas, and it would probably seem inevitable that Taylor would be the ready-made replacement, sitting upstairs ready to come down and take control of the team, which obviously wouldn't be well received by us supporters. But listen, the appointment itself says it all. We know what Scally's like. He's done this more than enough times now. In terms of a record low points total, it's a bold shout, but we've already seen 21 games of football under Adrian Pennock, and we've only won 4, 90% win rate, and if that was to somehow carry on next season as well, then maybe that isn't as extreme as it seems, but let's hope that's not the case. But moving on to the next tweet, which is from Richard Winwood, who simply just said, just saved me £500, thanks. Yeah, you're certainly not alone in that opinion. There's been plenty that have come out and said since that they won't be renewing their season ticket. People that had said previously that they wouldn't renew if Pennock was given the job full time, and I honestly can see that viewpoint. I've not missed a home game since 2010, and even I've been pushed to the point now where I'm really having to consider it. I probably will renew my season ticket because I'm a little bit stupid, but the price of £400, what it is, looking at it in terms of what we were served up last season, it is a big ask. And what people need to remember as well, it's more than just the £400 outlay for the season ticket. Some people have to travel half an hour to get to each home game. It's investment in time, it's investment in money. It's not just a case of turning up for the 90 minutes every other Saturday. There's more to it than that. But moving on, the next tweet is from John Murphy, who said, incredibly underwhelming and frustrating. Such a cop-out appointment. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that, John. Underwhelming and frustrating, two words which sum it up perfectly from when Pennock was appointed in the first place in January. And again, thought the same back then. It was a cop-out from Scally. It panned out how it did, appallingly. We was 8 points clear when Pennock took over, and we had to stay up by a point on the final day, yet he's kept his job. It is incredibly underwhelming. It is a cop-out from Scally. But my fear is that the fact this appointment has happened is just proving the fears that this club is crippled financially at the moment. And ultimately, that's on Scally's head. He gave Edinburgh the budget last season, which he claims was the biggest he's ever given out. That's his decision. He's the owner of the club. He controls the finances. So, unfortunately, Paul, that's your fault, and you're going to take the stick if this goes the way a lot of people expect and continues from last season, and we continue to struggle and just face another relegation battle next season. Next up from Lee Clifton. He says, disappointed with Adrian Pennock's appointment as Gillingham manager, but I think Peter Taylor in the background as director of football is a good decision. Quite a few people have suggested this, that Taylor coming back in upstairs isn't necessarily a bad move. I can see the argument, but for me it's just jobs for your mates again. He's been here twice already, got sacked, what was it, 2-3 years ago, fell out with Scally at the time apparently, and all of a sudden he's wormed his way back in the door, and here he is again. It's just a revolving door of the same group of names, and I think a lot of people are sick of it now, to be honest. But yeah, I can see why people are less angry at that decision, because yeah, he did sign some decent players. Like in his last spell as manager, you know, he likes of Aaron Morris, John Egan, Brendan Dickinson, Luke Norris, Courtney House on loan. But the problem is that my understanding of a director of football is that it means that Peter Taylor will be in charge of a lot of the recruitment side of things, and Adrian Pennock will be in charge of the coaching side and the running of the team on match days. Does this then lead us into dangerous territory where Peter Taylor will be signing the players and Pennock is just given them to work with and try and build into a winning football team, where if it does go wrong, the way Pennock's been, where it's been everyone but him to blame, will he just start using the excuse that it's not his players because it's not him signing them, it's Peter Taylor? Don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I do go with the notion that Adrian Pennock being appointed head coach is a much worse move than Peter Taylor coming back as director of football. I will admit to that one. Next up is someone with the name of IDB1410, and he is going to spend £20 on the golf course every Saturday afternoon now. So if I'm bad, I can't blame Pennock. Paul Scally wants progress, do me a favour. Yeah. What was it, 2-3 months ago, we had this Pathway to the Premier League document come out and all these new stadium plans, and here we go. We said at the time we appointed a manager who had been sacked from non-league, was told to give him a chance. We did that and he won 4 games out of 21, and that's good enough to keep his job. Like I said to a previous question related to the season tickets, I can't blame people for not turning up anymore. I really can't. Rumours that the club have sold less than 1,000 season tickets wouldn't surprise me, considering they've extended the early bird deadline 3 times now. And they phoned my house the other day, asking if I was renewing and trying to persuade me into doing so. That suggests that they're desperate and they're not selling ultimately, because I think people were waiting to see what the managerial appointment was going to be, and now it's come out and nothing's changed. I think it's going to put people off, and I know there will be people out there who say, oh, it shouldn't be a managerial appointment that decides if you buy a season ticket or not if you're a supporter. Like I say, it's £400. It's an awful lot of money. When we're being sold the same false promises from the chairman year on year, this Premier League dream, this new stadium dream, it's all cheap talk. This whole want to push on and then appoint non-league managers who do a bad job and then keep them on. It's just, like I said, it's a revolving door of the club going round and round and round in circles. It seems like nothing's going to change, and that's why people are getting fed up with it ultimately. Next up from Sam Johnston, very disappointing and horrible. Shows Paul Scally does not care. Shamefully, we'll have to stick by him though. Yeah, you're right in the sense that he's appointed Pennock now. For the next day, myself along with many others reacted really angrily towards it, but then eventually it's just going to settle in at the fact that he's been appointed, so he is going to start the season as Gillingham head coach, and we're just going to have to sit tight and wait and see what happens on it, and hope to be surprised and proven wrong. But if last season's evidence is anything to go by, I wouldn't hold my breath on it. But yeah, it suggests that Scally doesn't care. It's a tricky one because obviously this appointment's come over 2 weeks after the season ended. So if he was that certain that he was going to give Pennock the job, surely that would have been announced almost immediately. So maybe he was looking at alternatives, and because of the financial situation, they will turn their nose up at us, which is a worry if so. But I can see why the element of him not caring is being brought up, considering when he sacked Edinburgh in January, he admitted that he couldn't be bothered to interview managers, which, yeah, didn't look good on him. The next up is from Andrew Krauser, who says, shocking on both appointments, Scally likes giving his mates jobs. Yeah, I honestly can't see how anyone could disagree with that. This is Peter Taylor's third time at the club now. Obviously we've had Pennock as a player, manager badly last season, keeps his job. Hessenthaler's been back more times than I've got fingers. Steve Lovell's been back a number of times, Patterson the same. Southall's been back untold times. It's just, yeah, like you say, jobs for the mates. He's running this professional football club like a mate society, and history suggests it doesn't work. The only two appointments in recent years that have really worked, obviously Martin Allen, no affiliation with the club, won us a League Two title, and although it went sour in the end, Justin Edinburgh had us top 6 for 44 games in his first full season. Again, no affiliation to the club, and then he keeps going back to these old names and no progress gets made. So yeah, it's a ridiculous decision, in my opinion. Next up is from Josh Keeble. It simply says, so underwhelmed, prove me wrong. I think that sums it up really. For 90% of Gills fans, it is incredibly underwhelming. Would rather have seen a more experienced manager come in, and that's all Pennock can do, is prove us wrong. I've seen people suggest, well, give him till November before you judge him. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. He's not a new manager coming in. I've never managed this football club before. He had 21 games last year and was a car crash. I've judged him off that. 21 games is enough for me to see his managerial ability. Yeah, he says there was a complete circus going on in the background. Players weren't his or whatnot, but at the end of the day, he played half the team out of position every week. He made poor subs or no subs at all in most of the games, and made out that it was everyone's fault bar himself. So yeah, I've judged him on last season, and it's down to him to prove me wrong, not for me to wait patiently for him to get it right. It's down to him to prove all the doubters wrong, because the doubters, they're there for a reason, because he won 4 matches out of 21 last season, bottom line. Next up is from Warren Potts, who says, generally think it's the worst managerial appointment he's ever made, and he's made some shockers. Well, yeah, on the statistics of last season, his 19% win rate is the worst in Gillingham history, and that gets him a new contract. It says a lot. I said last season I think it's the worst appointment he's ever made, and my mind hasn't changed on that now. I don't trust his ability to bring the right players in. I don't trust his ability to attract decent enough players, and I don't trust his tactical ability to win games and manage games properly. See, I personally can't see it going well, but as the last tweet suggested, prove me wrong. Next up is from Owen Stanley, who said, the lack of ambition is worrying, but the worst thing for me is that I'm not surprised that this has happened. Only one way we're going currently. Yeah, totally agree, Owen. It's not a shock to anyone really, because Scally's done this before, and he will probably continue to do it again all the time. He's chairman of this football club. Sometimes we're only going one way currently. Yeah, I agree. We've been generally, barring August last season, a very bad football team for over a year now, and it very nearly ended in relegation last summer. Combined with this appointment, combined with the fact we've got seemingly incredibly little in the way of finances, seems like we're going to lose Dak for certain. Every chance we'll lose Wright, every chance Cody McDonald will be released. There's our 3 key players out the door before the season's even started, and we're on the back foot then straight away, because I can't see Pennock being able to replace anyone near their quality. So yeah, I do I do see the concern that we're only heading one way, and that's seemingly down, and that slide needs to be halted as soon as possible. The next up's from Carl Pont, who says, can get behind Peter Taylor as director of football, as he has good connections, but things got significantly worse under Pennock, and we keep him. Appalling. Yeah, as Lee Clifton said earlier, I can see the arguments behind getting behind Taylor as director of football. Like I say, he did sign some decent players, but then it's, like I say, it's the case that if he signs the players, then it's Pennock who's got to work with them. And if there's some there that he's not particularly keen on, it's not necessarily going to go right results wise on the pitch. Yeah, we was bad under Edinburgh last season. Pennock come in, talk of the playoffs, but at the end of the day all we wanted was him to improve our league position, and he made it considerably worse and turned us into mid-table mediocrity, into almost disastrous relegation. Yeah, it is appalling that he's got the job, in my opinion. Everyone knows that, and my opinion on that isn't going to change unless he somehow starts winning football matches on a consistent basis. Next up is from Tim Spackman, who says, good to see Taylor back in that role for me. Jury's out on Pennock, but happy to wait and see. Clean slate needed. Yeah, as the last point said about Taylor, could be a good move. Happy to wait and see on Pennock. Wouldn't say I'm happy about it, but that's all we can do. Wait and see what happens, wait and see what unfolds. It will settle in eventually, because we can't lose any matches between now and August, so I can't moan too much. Maybe when the signings start coming out, might be a cause to criticise, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But obviously, a lot of people, myself included, aren't particularly confident. Clean slate needed. Yeah, I think there is going to be a big overturn of players this summer. We need quite a few in various positions, especially defensively, and I expect that will happen. Whether it's players coming in on very, very cheap wages, which means they're not going to be of particularly good quality, could well be the case. It means we'll struggle, but either way, I am expecting there to be a lot of comings in and a lot of goings out over the course of the summer. Next up is from Matt Tomsick, who says, League 2, here we come. Yeah, I think there'll probably be a lot of people who've already been looking to try and find some relegation odds for next season, to try and see if there's any money to be made on it. I could see why the fear's there, because of the 21 games he had last season. He turned us into relegation fodder, and if he'd come in any earlier than he did, we would have been relegated. So yeah, he's got to try and, with whatever budget he has got, recruit astutely, and bring the right types of players in to ensure it doesn't happen. Because unfortunately, because of what happened last season, he's not going to get much time from Gill supporters next season. If we start off badly, we'll be calling for his head pretty early on. Be totally justified if because he's got his wish now. He can clear out the so-called poison. He can bring his own players in. He's got no excuses to hide behind anymore. He's not his players, or the training's bad, or the physios aren't good enough. He's getting what he wants now. If the results don't back it up, it's on his head, and I'd happily see him leave. But that was the last tweet. So yeah, thanks for sending all your sponsors in. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, comment, subscribe to us. Like I say, this will be a feature that will roll out into next season, post matches, to just discuss the game and people's reactions, to get your views on air, some shout outs to you guys who help contribute to the blog, and yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, up the Gills.